Thinking of winning the lotto jackpot? Well, there is an easy way. Combo Play. Choose 4 numbers from 1 to 36. That's a combo 4 at a cost of $64. Match any 4 of the 5 numbers and win the lotto jackpot. There's Combo 6, where you purchase 6 numbers for only $12. Match any 5 of the 6 lotto numbers and hit the jackpot. How about Combo 7? That's a purchase of 7 lotto numbers for $42. Match any 5 of the 7 numbers and you will win the jackpot. There are also Combo 3, Combo 8 and Combo 9 lotto plays. Visit the NLA headquarters in Pauls Avenue or WhatsApp 495-6886 for more details. Lotto, you have to be in it to win it. Boom, boom.
No place like home because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Come home to me. Come home to me. Come home to me. Don't no promise from today. I go show like I never show you play. Like I never play. Like I never won before. Just to show you what's up. You know what I'm saying? I will never let you down again.
Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Roundtable Talk. It's actually our first sports talk on this program. And with me at the roundtable this evening is Dr. KISHORE Shallow, who is the current Vice President of Cricket West Indies. In effect, he's also the new president, I think, of the Cricket West Indies, because since we last spoke, there have been some changes, and I think your challenger has, in fact, withdrawn his challenge. So by Saturday, the formalities would have been completed, and you would become the new president of Cricket West Indies. Tell us about the process leading up to this.
Good evening, Teresa. Pleasure being here in studio, nice comfortable studio at VC3. Always a pleasure being here. I think the last time I was here was with Charlo and a couple of the others, and I did enjoy that program. I'm sure this evening will be the same. So the process at Cricket West Indies is every other year there's an AGM, of course, so the AGM is every year, but every other year we have elections for the president and the vice president along with the other directors. And on March 25th, this Saturday, we have those elections for the president and the VP and the other directors. And there's a nomination process. So the nomination process is closed 1 month before the election. So that closed sometime last month in February. At the end of the nomination process, we had 3 persons nominated. We had 2 persons for the presidency, myself and Mr. Billy Heaven, who is currently the president of Jamaica Cricket Association and a long-standing member of the board, director of the board. And we also have now, as Bazarat, the lone person nominated for the vice president position. He is currently the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board. Okay.
So tell me, you have done 2 terms as vice president. What was the motivating factor that pushed you to run for the presidency?
I often believe that if you're not willing to step up at some point for the presidency, then it is probably pointless unless you are quite committed to that supporting role. And there are persons who are really cut out for that. There are some persons, and haven't served it as a president. Of course, I've been a president for St. Vincent and Grenadines Cricket Association from 2014 to 2020. And I've also been the president of Windward Islands. I'm still the president of Windward Islands Cricket Board. commence in 2019, that position. And so having served in both roles, I understand the roles, they're significantly different, the president and the vice president. And I just, having been so close to the action, so to speak, over the last 4 years, it has convinced me that I am prepared for that role, and I could do, a significant amount of work to advance West Indies cricket. So with that sort of confidence, I just thought that it was quite fitting for me to step forward as a candidate, and fortunately there are directors, my colleagues on the board, who share similar sentiments.
Okay, what were some of the challenges, indeed achievements, during your tenure as Vice President of Cricket West Indies?
None greater than the pandemic. We have all had to endure and persevere through the pandemic. I said to persons, absolutely no one could have planned for a pandemic, right? It was the last thing we would have imagined. And how we navigated that period, it's testimony of good, solid, sure-footed leadership by Ricky Skerritt. And quite fortunate, we had someone with that kind of experience. Ricky obviously served before as a Minister of Sport and in different administrative positions, so vast experience. And I think that level of experience and confidence would have helped our organization through that period. And in terms of some specific achievements, personally, that I've been involved with, I've chaired the committee, a task force that looked at the selection policy, the selection systems for Cricket West Indies. Over the years, one of the most sensitive areas in our cricket is obviously the selection of our players, be it senior, junior, male, female, but especially our senior cricket, both male and female, is extremely sensitive, and they are scrutinized. Every single selection, is scrutinized. And what I found in that 6 months or so, review, is that in the history of West Indies cricket, we have never had a selection policy, an official selection policy. What we had was different chairs or different chairpersons of selections, coming up with their own way of selecting. And there are some guidelines there, but not an official policy. And Michael Finley, our very own, he could attest to that he cannot at any point go and point to a document and say, this is the selection policy. So it was great being able to contribute to that process, chairing that selection policy task force and establishing the policy. And with that, I think we have advanced. In addition to that selection policy, very recently we have conducted, again, I chair another task force where we reviewed our franchise system. We have a franchise system where Cricket West Indies pumps close 400 US in monthly, right? That is the 6 territories have one franchise each, including the Windward's Volcanoes, which you're probably familiar with. And Cricket West Indies fund the entire system. What we found over the years is that the output for the injection of money over the years, we weren't getting value for that investment. And so we had a task force set up to, looked at that, review how we could be more efficient, because we need a system like that. But we just have to ensure that the investment, sort of generates the same sort of value, which obviously should contribute to the results on the field at the senior level. So that review went really well. We came up with quite a number of recommendations, and that is before the board for implementation. And just there are multiple things achieved. So, for example, the pandemic, we were the very first country to tour. West Indies were the first region, cricket region to tour. Anyway, we went to England for almost an entire summer, and we played a very competitive cricket there. We were in a bubble, as you know. You probably forget bubble now. We forget the term bubble, but it was only recently we were operating in a bubble, and we did that. We generated money during that difficult period as well. Cricket West Indies, one of the only organizations in the region especially, that did not lay off one single employee, right? And that I think is really commendable to Ricky Skerritt, commendable to all our board, our staff, our players, and everybody who makes sacrifices, every single one who made sacrifices during that period.
How were you able to do that?
Strategizing. We set up a committee, a finance strategy committee. Billy Heaven was the chair of that committee. We worked very closely with him and the others on that committee. A lot of communication, ensuring that everyone realized that, listen, this is a period that we must endure. We must prioritize, where our spending, concern, and just manage things a whole lot better. And what that has taught us is that we could be far more efficient. And I think a lot of persons, when I speak to persons generally, they say, well, there's some blessings in disguise, with the pandemic. And I think we could say the same for Cricket West Indies. So now we are being a bit more efficient with everything. And, there are different things that I suspect during the program I will come to, in terms of what we achieve during that period of financial management. I could sit here and say proudly that we have implemented some prudent practices for our financial management, which now helps us to be more robust, be more accountable right through our entire system. And so quite a lot. But the thing is, Teresa, in sports, especially West Indies cricket, people want to win. People want the results on the field, those favorable results, winning test matches, winning one-day matches, winning and that is the point. Yeah. So regardless of what achievements we had off the field, our results on the field still need to improve significantly, right? And we'll come to some of those as I touch the manifesto later on.
Okay, so we'll definitely talk about that, but you mentioned the fact that there was a task force which looked at the selection policy. So what are the major components of that new selection policy?
For one, we established different panels. So previously we had one panel. We had a panel of 4 selectors, and those 4 individuals, competent, solid individuals, most of them would have played international cricket, I think barring one, but the one who didn't play international cricket played a lot of cricket, first class and so on, and was very successful. But a group of individuals very passionate about West Indies cricket. However, the four individuals cannot look at all our cricket. Mm-hmm. So they were looking at men's, they were looking at boys, they were looking at women, they were looking at girls, So they were absolutely stretched, right? And sometimes we don't even realize when we are stretched, Teresa. So we just continue, and so we do what we are supposed to do, or what is expected of us. And they did a credible job based on the resources and the time that they had, but clearly we had to do better. We had to improve that system. And so what we did, we established 3 different panels, men's, which had now 2 selectors. So they had a lead selector and a supporting selector, along with the head coach of the team. So for example, if you're playing with the men's team, the men's head coach would be a selector as well. So we have those as a selector. Then we had a women's panel, which looked at senior and junior women. So the senior and we call them women still, even though they are under 19, right? It's a young woman. And then we had a young boys panel, which had a talent ID manager, which looked at players from under 15, under 17, under 19. So what we did was allow our selectors to see more cricket, right? So no longer selectors had to prioritize, the cricket to watch, right? So they were looking at male and female at the same time. I think that was a significant stride that we made in terms of, improving women's cricket, giving them their own panel, right? Because, I'll be quite honest that when you had one panel, I believe that if our men's team, if the international team is playing, so the test team or the ODI team, the selectors are going to zoom in on those cricket. right? And then obviously sacrifice, probably not consciously, but it used to happen. And so we are quite happy that we fixed that. And there are different policies developed there with that, in terms of our communication. So we had it documented that selectors must communicate with players. When you omit a player from the team, when you drop a player, when you select a player, very important to have that communication
to have a conversation
with the players.
Okay, we will talk some about that when we come back after this, our first break. Back in just a moment.
Boom, boom. Because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Ain't got no place like home. Because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Come home to me. Come home to me. Come home to me. Don't no promise from today. I go show like I never show you play, like I never play, like I never won before. Just to show you what's up. You know what I'm saying? Boom! 'Cause I will never let you down again.
You can increase your chances of winning the Super 6 jackpot with a combo play. Remember, Super 6 numbers are from 1 to 28. Choose any 5 Super 6 numbers. That's a combo 5 for $69. Match any 5 of the 6 numbers and you will win the jackpot. Choose 7 Super 6 numbers for $21. Match any 6 of the 7 numbers and win the jackpot. There's more. Combo 8, where you purchase 8 Super 6 numbers for $84. Match any 6 of the 8 numbers and you will win the jackpot. There are also Combo 3 and Combo 4 Super 6 plays. Visit the NLA headquarters in Pauls Avenue or WhatsApp 495-6886 for more details. Super 6, bigger jackpots, more chances to win.
Welcome back. When we took the break, we were talking about the question of communication, but let me just remind our viewers that you can send your questions and comments via WhatsApp at 493-5332, or you can do so via Facebook and via our YouTube page as well. There's a question for you even before I get the chance to continue along that discourse, but I'll take it. There's a question from someone who's asking, was Royston Chase the best option to replace Obed McCoy? I mean...
That's a good question. What I would say is that our lead selector, he normally holds press conferences. He will hold these media interactions from time to time. And
the lead selector is
Desmond Haynes, the Honorable Dr. Desmond Haynes. But he would be the ideal person to have because of my position and the way coming back. We could come right back to the discussion there, and that the selection policy. What we did with that policy as well is to ensure there is not interference from administrators like myself. So it's a robust system, right, that clearly outlines the who should be selecting team, the criteria, right, the communication protocol, and where possible, if there are anything that anyone who does something extraordinary, where that could be corrected as well, right? So I know that it is not in my remit, to select any team or to comment on selections. But what I would say, Teresa, is that we are going to disagree on selections. I would disagree. If we sit here now and we select a team, even if it's one player, we're going to have a difference of opinion. that is just in nature, and that is what makes selection such a hard job. But I think I could safely say that, you know, they mean well, the selectors mean well, and they try as best to, you know, follow the policy, you know, and so that they could be accountable and they could be as transparent as possible. And I've seen that since 2019 especially. Not that it wasn't happening before, but the policy sort of helped that to move, you know, to a different level.
Okay, so you would say that arguably the policy, or this new policy, is being implemented the way it ought to be, and you're pleased that it has resulted in positive.
It has been followed as closely as possible. I mean, no system is perfect, and what we have to do is just be committed to evolving, be committed to improving, you know, quite often, you know, as much as a review. There's nothing wrong. It's 4 years ago. We actually did a review recently, you know, just keep reviewing our systems. Now, when we argue about things like selection and our players, so we say pick Raston instead of Obed. Well, Obed is injured. But we have a very small pool of players available to us. And one of the things I've heard, because we had a previous panel since 2019, I think they, you know, up until probably last year, early last year. And persons who are calling for the heads of those selectors, now they're saying, well, wait, these selectors picking the same people, you know. The reality is simple. We have a small pool of players, right? So the answer isn't really sometimes the selection of these players. It is really deeper than that. We have to implement better systems for our players. We have to ensure that the players, by the time they get to the international level, they are prepared, they are experienced, right? And they hit the ground running. Like we see with Australian players, like we see with Indian players, like we see with the English players. Our learning curve is way too steep, and that is because we have a poor system of producing players, and then even worse, we do not have an academy set up, right, capable of, you know, not only developing players further, but helping players to, you know, if say, for example, you hit international cricket with some form, right, and then so let's use Shea Hope as an example. In Test cricket, not one, his one-day stats are exceptional, probably best for any West Indian player ever. But if you look at his tests, he scored 2 magnificent centuries against England, helped us to win a series in England a few years back. And he has fallen off in terms of his form in Test cricket, in that format only, right? But we don't have a system where Shea could go back and, you know, sort of, you know, correct the little deficiencies and the challenges, and then go back to international cricket, Test cricket, and dominate again.
What's stopping us from having such a system?
Right, so in the manifesto, you would see cricket development, and cricket development speaks to that, right? Where we talk about a player needs to develop from the time they enter cricket until they retire from cricket, right? Development, just like everything else in life, we have to keep evolving, right? So we always have to find, and because cricket is so competitive, just like other sports, people are scrutinizing you, people are zooming in on your technique, people are searching, there are analysts who are hired to find those deficiencies or create those deficiencies in your technique, right? So you are going to be tested, you're going to be challenged. We have to have a system where persons could help these players, right? And we don't have that. And the reason for it is that, one, we have taken far too long, and some people would probably not agree with this, right? Because, and I'll tell you why just now, but we have taken far too long to appreciate how far the game has gone and what technology is doing for the game, right? And also, we don't have the resources because we haven't capitalized. When we were dominating cricket, we didn't capitalize commercially. So we are stuck with limited resources, which means that we obviously cannot invest in some of these programs that we should really be invested in. But on that point, with why we have taken so long to understand and appreciate the systems, you see, and this doesn't happen across the other sports globally. In our system, West Indies is the only team that has dominated all three formats of cricket. Tests, we have dominated tests. In fact, we have been up to this point the most successful test team, right? Then we also have the one days where we have won the 1975 and the 79 World Cups, and we have won the ICC trophy. So the most successful if you want to look in terms of trophies. And we won 2 T20 World Cups, right? However, we have fallen off in every format, right? So this dated back to the 1970s, where we have not capitalized on our dominance. We sort of relax when we are winning, Teresa. This is the raw truth. We relax when we are winning, right? And we don't look at ways of improving, right? We only try to improve when we are losing, right? The other countries now, so we have seen England. England has, they've gone through a difficult period. They're winning now, right? Australia, same thing. Australia dominated in the 90s, right? Late 90s and early 2000s. And they went through a difficult period not too long ago. It probably took them less than a year to recover, and now they are dominating again. The reason being, they have a system in place, a structure, so they were able to rebound extremely quickly. Now, because we do not have those sort of robust systems in place, it is more difficult for us to sort of, pick up the pieces and get back. So it is possible. The manifesto, if implemented properly, if we see the support.
What will it take?
Well, the cricket development, it needs resources. And that is why you see commercial and marketing component of the manifesto, the third pillar of the manifesto. That is absolutely critical, because you got to be able to afford certain things, It's one thing to have a wish list, but you have to be able to afford them, the different items. And I do not believe, I really sincerely do not believe we have tapped into the resources out there. I don't think we have explored all our, different opportunities for commercial activities. And I think that with a robust plan, and I normally say to people very straight that I don't have all the answers. And I am not going to sit here and tell you I have all the answers. But what I plan to do is to mobilize the experts across the region and ensure that they get the platform to provide us with those ideas, right? So part of my journey and process as a president, and I've done it at the St. Vincent level, establishing that inclusive environment of different people coming in and, having their inputs and so on. And I did it at Windward's level as well, and it's the very, very same approach for West Indies, ensuring that those experts who can help us, who can tell us, what have you been missing, what opportunities you have failed to capitalize in over the years, bring them to the table again, discuss them, see what are viable or not, see what are lucrative or not. And that is how we are going to generate millions, I believe, right, that we could invest in cricket development. So I'll give you one example before I think the break coming up, right? Yeah. The Vinci Premier League, right? In the pandemic, that opportunity surfaced by Dream 11 India wanting content. And it's a T10 tournament, so it wasn't very popular in the region. And then we said, well, why not give it a try? And then we spoke about it, we explored it, and people say, well, T10 cricket, why are you going to play T10 cricket? That is not cricket. We were able to say and convince persons that, listen, the commercial value, right, the thousands of dollars you're going to generate, the interest you're going to get from spectators, right, that could help the cricket becoming more popular. It could help the funds that you could utilize the funds that you're getting to invest in development cricket. And so VPL has been a massive success from a commercial front and help us to invest in tours for our young players and so on. And other countries throughout the region, they have adopted that same model that we are using now for VPL to help them commercially and their cricket development.
Okay, so VPL. Okay, we'll take our second break, and when we come back, we'll talk about how you intend to push the boundaries as your manifesto theme suggests. Back in just a moment.
Raquel Coombs, Police Constable 353, and I'm here with your crime prevention tip of the day. When shopping, hold your bag close to your body with your arm through the strap. It is not wise to keep your purse in your handbag either. Handbags can be the perfect targets for thieves to snatch easily. Do not display large quantity of cash in public. When storing cash, do it carefully and look around to see if anyone is paying particular attention to your activity. This is your crime prevention tip of the day. Have a safe and productive day, everyone.
Welcome back. Your manifesto is themed Pushing the Boundaries. You have outlined 4 pillars on which it's based: cricket development, human capital, commerce and marketing, and governance. Let's look at cricket development to begin with.
When I came up with Pushing the Boundaries, I wanted people to understand that it cannot be the same cricket West Indies. It must be a case of us doing more, even with less, right? So understanding that we must operate at a greater degree of efficacy, right? Everything, we must do better. We must show more passion. We must show more pride in West Indies cricket. We have to explore more. And that is from the board to the executive, to the players, the coaches, umpires, everyone, all our stakeholders must understand that if we are going to improve cricket, which is a common interest shared by all of us, we have to do more. And it cannot be a case of just accepting that, all right, we have tried. I don't think we have tried hard enough. And that is what I meant when I came up with the idea of pushing the boundaries. And specifically with cricket development, again, this is not because of limited efforts in the past. We have had different things, but if you lack the resources, Teresa, it is difficult to implement these programs. And so what you will find is a linkage between all these components, all these 4 pillars. Because if you don't generate more money under commercial and marketing, then you can't afford these things. If you don't zoom in at your governance, right, then you won't necessarily get the buy-in from the stakeholders, or even your shareholders who own Cricket West Indies 6 territorial boards. So we need to strengthen our relationship between Cricket West Indies, the staff, and the territorial boards. We also need to look at our human capital, because they are the engine room. Our staff at the Secretariat in Antigua, they are the ones who make the critical daily decisions. So they have to have a level of pride and professionalism for West Indies cricket and to advance West Indies cricket. So it is to sort of pool all our resources together and get everyone. A massive part in the first few months of this new dispensation would be to sensitize everyone in the organization and other stakeholders about their role they could play in advancing our cricket.
That was the question I was about to ask next. How do you plan to engage all these stakeholders to ensure that, as you put it, there's a greater degree of efficacy?
Yes, and there's a section in the manifesto called Power Play. and I obviously use that because we know in T20 and one-day cricket, you know, we have that power play where you look to clear the boundary, you know, capitalize on those few overs. And it's really how you get off the mark, you know, in those first few overs. And most times the power play will determine the outcome of the game. And so I like that because I like to put myself under pressure to perform. And I thought that it was quite fitting to use that term, power play, and to identify some items that we can get done within the first 6 months of this leadership. And at the very top, number one, you would see meeting with key stakeholders. Absolutely important. We have to meet with all our stakeholders now. Not to say we're going to meet with every fan, but we must hear from the fans. Yes. We must have that conversation with the governments, the CARICOM heads, right? Who, by the way, have expressed, you know, great interest and support going forward. And the intention is to have, you know, some conversations with these leaders and see what role they could play. They're enthusiastic about West Indies cricket, and they're massive fans like me and you. They are. When you speak to whether Dr. Ali, the president of Guyana, he tells you that he watches every ball of a test match. And when you talk to our dear comrade, Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, he tell you the same thing too. He would call me from time to time when cricket is playing, whether we're winning or losing, and, you know, show that kind of interest, and he would give you the stats and it would confirm how much he follows cricket, right? And there are others, Prime Minister Motley from Barbados, Prime Minister Rowley, Gaston Brown in Antigua. So they all are massive cricket fans, but we have to engage them. We have to sit with them, let them tell us, you know, what vision they have for the cricket and how they can help us to get there, right? Also, the players. You can't have a board one way and the players over there. We have to be together in sync and on the same wavelength moving cricket forward. The players need to be sensitized about the core values of our cricket, right? And we have to understand, and probably because of my age, I have a greater understanding of our players, because some of them I've played with, some of them are not much younger than me. And so I understand the pros and the cons and the reasons why they make certain decisions and so on. But I could tell you that they are willing to have a conversation, and they want to play for West Indies. They want us to do better, right? Despite sometimes you might see us losing matches. They are not proud of that, right? Because there are people who, you know, they play with pride, and but it is just our system. But we need to have that conversation with them. And Corporate Caribbean, right? They have a role to play as well. They have a role in terms of investing, how we could, you know, give them more mileage to ensure that their brands receive, you know, be pushed, whether it's regionally or globally. And they're the officials. So they're just everyone, right? We just need to categorize and pull people together to understand, well, you know, what is your role? How can you advance this cricket, right? And, you know, you have the media, like VC3 and so on, you know, everybody.
Sports channel, yes.
and it's just to get everyone to work with us and establish key partnerships. And I think that must be done very early. I'm hoping we could do that within the first couple of months of this new dispensation. And we find ways of being on the same wavelength and move the cricket in the right direction.
Okay. I do have a question, but I think I'll have to... Okay. So there's someone who is saying, my name is Evan Roberts. I'm originally from Bible, ex-SVG youth team player. I've played a lot of cricket in the UK with various clubs over the years. All of these clubs have a structure which includes various cold teams. You'd probably know what that is. Yeah. The youth and kids would play in their age group. The clubs will have kids from the age of under 19 up to under 17, for example, playing in competitions. Can you speak on whether you have in your plans to develop West Indies cricket, one, to work with the management of SVG Cricket Association to help, or to see that clubs in SVG have a Colts program? Will clubs across the West Indies be encouraged and supported to have a Colts program?
So what he's speaking of there, and is a very good point, is club structure. right? We have a weak club structure, not only in St. Vincent, but in the Caribbean by and large. I think the leading countries would definitely be like Barbados and Trinidad, right? They still have very good club structure there. And even they might admit that, it is probably, due for some repairs in terms of, ensuring that it goes in upward trajectory more than downwards. I've discussed this multiple times with different associations and boards, including St. Vincent and Grenades Cricket Association when I was there. I know we spoke about it. We spoke about the challenges. In fact, I could recall, I studied in UK. I spent 5 years in England studying. And I played a lot of cricket. One of the reasons why I chose to study in the UK is because of their cricket structure. And what I saw and observed there is ideal, right? What he mentioned there, what he messaged there in terms of code is the youth program. So there's a junior program in every club, right? So you have your senior team, you might have 2 senior teams, a first 11 and a second 11, and then you still have your codes, your junior program. These are like the under 13s. That is ideal, right? In the Caribbean, we hardly have that. Even in Barbados and Trinidad, we don't necessarily have that. We have different programs for youth, right? But we do not have it. So I know there are persons. There's this gentleman, Reds Pereira, who I'm sure you know. Mm-hmm. Reds is quite keen to help push that club structure by coming out and teaching and sensitizing not only cricket but different clubs, because it's necessary in football and all the other sports in St. Vincent and throughout the region. So it is necessary. It would help, obviously, because you have a wider pool of players. You have more structure with people, developing from a younger age and moving through the ranks of the different clubs and so on. So it is ideal. Football did something recently where they incentivized the club to, sort of implement some structure, but I'm not sure to the extent, but it is necessary. I would say that it's something that we must work towards achieving in the long term. I will continue having that discussion with the local cricket association, and anywhere at all I can support that sort of advancement, they have my full support. Okay.
Colin Bino Jr. wants to know, what are your plans on future sponsorship for CWI in terms of kit? Over the years, we had some notable sponsors: Cable and Wireless, Digicel, Sandals, most recently Royal Stag.
Yeah, work in progress. I don't know if you want to take it after the break.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so when we come back, we'll talk some more about that. Back in a moment.
Thinking of winning the lotto jackpot? Well, there is an easy way. Combo Play. Choose 4 numbers from 1 to 36. That's a combo 4 at a cost of $64. Match any 4 of the 5 numbers and win the lotto jackpot. There's Combo 6, where you purchase 6 numbers for only $12. Match any 5 of the 6 lotto numbers and hit the jackpot. How about Combo 7? That's a purchase of 7 lotto numbers for $42. Match any 5 of the 7 numbers and you will win the jackpot. There are also Combo 3, Combo 8, and Combo 9 Lotto plays. Visit the NLA headquarters in Pauls Avenue or WhatsApp 495-6886 for more details. Lotto, you have to be in it to win it.
Welcome back. When we took our last break, someone was inquiring about the whole question of the future of sponsorship. Someone else here is talking about, Wesley Bennett says, "We are proud of you, Sir Shallow. Congratulations on all your hard work. Do you know the current status of our very own Sunil Ambrose? And do you think we'll be seeing him in big action again?"
Yeah, in terms of the commercial, I think some time ago, very recently, probably a couple of days ago, I was speaking to a former player, someone I consider a legend, and we were talking about the resources and the failure to capitalize on the goodwill of the people, and I said we have to put more program, we have to be more aggressive, and yes, it's difficult to attract sponsorship and so on. And he interjected, he said, listen, all we need to do is win, right? Once you win, people want to be associated with your brand. Mm-hmm. West Indies is a powerful brand globally, right? Anywhere you go in the world, India,
still is,
right? Australia, Pakistan, right? And South Africa, we went where we are now. Powerful brand. Everyone wants Cricket West Indies to do well, by and large. Now, they will support us, right, with a solid plan, and which is why I have invested so much time in this manifesto, because this is the kind of effort that we need from the leader to sort of, advance the cricket. And I suspect that with robust plans like these, and with our exports coming together, as I intend to bring those people together, we are going to find people who want, and those who have a strong desire to invest in West Indies cricket and help West Indies cricket, obviously, while their brands benefit. But it would help if we win. You can't think otherwise. And I'm confident as well that our team, when you look at the talent, even this ODI team that just played against South Africa yesterday, and the series ended in a draw. But we were right. People would say we should have won. When we played the Test series as well, we probably should have won at least one of those games. So we are not far from winning. What we need is a kind of killer instinct and the ability to concentrate for longer periods and to just dominate on those key moments in the game. And if we can get that, the mental component of the game, right, if we can get that right, I genuinely believe that we could be, more successful consistently.
I see you have mentioned a mentorship program with players of yours.
It's quite important.
Would this help this initiative?
It will, and you would see in the manifest today as well that it is under cricket development, where I said engage our legends to lead a mentorship program for our players, because they have so much experience, right? I mean, we can't ask a Sir West Hall to run around on the field and coach anyone now, right? But I could tell you his mind is as sharp as ever, and he could tell a fast bowler, what to do, tell them about experiences that he himself gained while playing. And players, or young players especially, and current senior players could definitely benefit from those type of exchanges. So we have to sort of give our younger players the opportunity to learn from these guys in a mentorship program, and I'm fully committed to that. I think that would help. To Sunil Ambrose, Sunil is a I mean, when I tell you about tremendous talent, right, extremely talented individual, I don't even believe that Sunil understands the kind of talent he has, right? He just has to get, again, similar to our international players, the mental component, right? He just has to get that right. And I suspect that once he gets that right, gets into the right frame of mindset, he is going to be back on West Indies team. But I could say that the ball is in his court. It is in his court. Once he performs, he will be selected. I'm sure based on the, what I've been seeing with the selectors. So it's up to him.
How do they get the mental component? What sort of plans are there to help the players in this respect?
Yeah. I'm a realistic person, right? Very practical. And when you speak about the cricketers, I also look at their backgrounds, right? The whole society, our culture, and these things. And if you look around, people still not very appreciative of the mental side, of things. I am a student of mind power, meaning I study mind power. So I have a very great understanding of that topic and what it could actually do for people, right? And if players, especially athletes, could understand mind power, then it will take, because they're naturally, when you get to international level, when you get even to first class level, it means that you have, exceptional skills, right? But the difference between an average or a good player and a Virat Kohli or a Brian Lara is that mind power, right? Being able to fight through those very difficult situations. So a fella bowl a couple good balls at you, right? Rather than going into a shell, you gotta now be confident again. You bowl a couple balls and a guy hit you for 6. You have to be mentally tough, right? I really believe that is something, if we could improve that component for our players, right? And that is, there are experts out there. I know a few who are quite willing to be involved in West Indies cricket. If we can get that program, but while we get those programs in place, we have to ensure that our players, our management, have the appreciation for that as well, because they must know how to utilize these services, right? And I think that is the area we are getting there, but quite slowly. So it's to try and accelerate us getting there, because I could tell you, the other countries are already using it. The other countries are already thinking and studying mind power in an advanced way. So we have to do it sooner than later.
Okay. What would be your priority areas in the first 90 days of your presidency?
It goes right back to the power play that I spoke about, meeting with key stakeholders, ensuring that there's a financial model that the territorial boards appreciate, right? Because the territorial boards, they're the backbone of West Indies. They're the ones who produce players for West Indies. And so we have to ensure that they have sufficient funds to have their programs rolling out. We also need to revise our committees to get, those exports from across the regions on board, to get those ideas, to get those, that kind of professionalism and so on. So that is key. We will probably do that.
Is it going to be a brainstorming session, kind of?
There will be opportunities like that, but we have to first identify those key persons who could make that sort of contribution. Also establish a commercial arm, a diverse commercial arm. In order for us to advance, we have to set up a commercial arm so that they could be fully focused and generated more revenue for the organization. I think we need to revise our financial strategy, right? We have made some progress since 2019 with managing our finances, but I think there's some room for improvement in getting those key prudent practices there, that we still don't spend excessively, and we manage our resources because we already have limited resources. So we sort of have to tighten the screws there still in terms of our management. One of the things I believe that we must do is introduce an under-23 program. So what we have over the years is an under-19 tournament. And the gap between under-19 and the senior tournament, there's a massive gap. So let me give you a quick example. When you leave on 19, right, the reality is you're not going to walk into your senior national team immediately unless you're exceptionally good like a Sunil Ambrose. Even for the St. Vincent team, you're going to take a few years. What do you do during that period, right? And that is where we lose the most cricketers, because from the time you hit 19, you are no longer a junior player. So you have to seek employment. You probably find a spouse, you're distracted. There are so many different things. And we just lose you. We have to provide that opportunity for those under 23 to continue playing competitive cricket so that we don't lose them. That is priority. We have to start that immediately. We have already had some discussions as territorial boards, how we can get that done. I think that is probably one of the most important steps we'll make in the 4-6 months of this administration. And we have to conduct an audit review of an HR audit, meaning ensure that the right people are in the right places, we have the best, and just to improve our efficiency in the organization. So that, and there are some others that would probably carry us to the next segment of the break.
Okay.
I also want Cricket West Indies to have a great appreciation of the facilities we have across the region. So what I have in mind is an audit of all the cricket facilities in the region. So I should be able to know what facilities we have in St. Vincent. We have Annisville, we have Sand Hill, we have Park Hill, Cumberland, right? Are those up to certain standard? What category are they? What level they are, right? Can we play a first-class game at Cumberland, right? Do we have an indoor facility in St. Vincent? We need to have that right across the region to know what we need. So after having that audit done, then we'll say, okay, we need X in St. Vincent, we need B in Barbados, we need this in Jamaica, and so on. That is absolutely important. We are nowhere close to where we should be in terms of our infrastructure, right? So we have to find out what we have and what we don't have in order to solicit support for investment and so on from government and other funding agencies globally. And I think once we could do those things within the 4-6 months, it sounds like a lot, Teresa. I plan to, one of the good things about being the vice president for the last few years is that I have a great appreciation of what is necessary now. And the transition period, I suspect, will be quite seamless for me. And Ricky, commendations for him for ensuring that I was, I have worked, so close to the leadership so that I have a very good idea, a very good perspective and things that are there now and what are required immediately to move forward.
Okay, and since the time is really on us, the time just goes so quickly on this program, what would you like your legacy to be?
Right now I'm just focusing, just someone asked me recently about, the accomplishment of even being a Vincentian, and so I just tell them, listen, I'm just focused on doing the work. My family, everyone who knows me, that my passion for cricket is beyond measurable, and I just want to improve West Indies cricket, provide those opportunities for young West Indians and so on, and just put a smile on people like your face to see that we're winning again. that is all.
Great, lovely. Well, that's the program for today. Thank you so very much, Dr. Shallow. And congratulations, and we are rooting for you. We wish you all the very best because we know it's not going to be easy. That's our program, as I said. See you again next week, Wednesday. We'll have our 4 historians on next week's edition of Roundtable Talk. Good evening and have a very lovely Wednesday evening. Bye.
You can increase your chances of winning the Super 6 jackpot with a combo play. Remember, Super 6 numbers are from 1 to 28. Choose any 5 Super 6 numbers. That's a combo 5 for $69. Match any 5 of the 6 numbers and you will win the jackpot. Choose 7 Super 6 numbers for $21. Match any 6 of the 7 numbers and win the jackpot. There's more. Combo 8, where you purchase 8 Super 6 numbers for $84. Match any 6 of the 8 numbers and you will win the jackpot. There are also Combo 3 and Combo 4 Super 6 plays. Visit the NLA headquarters in Pauls Avenue or WhatsApp 495-6886 for more details. Super 6, bigger jackpots, more chances to win.
Hello everyone, my name is Raquel Coombs, Police Constable 353, and I'm here with your crime prevention tip of the day. When shopping, hold your bag close to your body with your arm through the strap. It is not wise to keep your purse in your handbag either. Handbags can be the perfect targets for thieves to snatch easily. Do not display large quantity of cash in public. When storing cash, do it carefully and look around to see if anyone is paying particular attention to your activity. This is your crime prevention tip of the day. Have a safe and productive day, everyone.
Boom, boom. Because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Ain't got no place like home. Because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Come home to me. Come home to me. Come home to me. Don't not promise from today. I go show like I never show you play. Like I never play. Like I never won before. Just to show you what's up. You know what I'm saying? Boom. Cause I